The Washington football team is going to be called the Washington football team. Hey everybody, my name is Greg and welcome to this channel called the Washington Football Fanatics. If you're new here, please consider subscribing and hit that notification bell so you will never miss another video release. So looking at the Washington football team website and going to the link, and by the way, I will leave a link in the description below, but going to the link to where that they were basically asking the fans and artists around to come up with a new name, their new ideas or their ideas for new names, logos, and that sort of thing. You can see a message where they're saying that a brand new name is coming in 2022. So for the 21 season, we're still going to be called the Washington football team. Now, does this mean that there's already been a name that has been chosen for the team, or are they still kind of reviewing all of the entries, or have they already picked a name a long time ago and they're just waiting for the legalities of that to work out? I really honestly feel like they have already picked that name out. And right now it's just a matter of working the legalities out. And while I will say that I don't think it's going to be a name that anybody has submitted, because obviously people have submitted some horrendous names. I could be wrong. They may choose a name that has been fan selected. I don't know. But I really feel like they already had an idea of which direction they were going to go, and then just having the fans to kind of be a part of that and to submit their ideas of logos and things like that. I won't say that all that was just for play. I could be completely wrong, but I think that they already had a pretty good idea of where they were going with a new name. But most of us were ready to have some type of name. Let's face it, whenever you look at the standings in the NFC East and you're seeing Eagles, Cowboys, Giants football team, and it looks dumb. I mean, it looks so stupid. I'd said before, I was like, at least just call them Washington. Don't even worry about the football team. We've already established the fact that they play football. And so, whenever you see the standings like that, just put in Washington. That would have made a lot more sense, because that's who they are right now. They're Washington. Maybe I have just created a new slogan for them. We are Washington. Come on, football team brass. If you're out there watching this video, there's your slogan. So I honestly have no idea at this point which direction they're going to go as far as the name in 2022. I'm kind of happy that we're sticking with the Washington football team for 21. To be totally honest with you, it really didn't take me very long to warm up to just being called the Washington football team. I think when the Houston Oilers moved to Tennessee, they were still called the Oilers for at least the first year or two, maybe. If you're a Tennessee fan, you can definitely correct me on this if I'm wrong. And then eventually they switched over to being called the Titans. And the Titans, I believe, was one of those reserved names that the NFL had, so reserved for expansion teams and that sort of thing. And I think the same deal was with the Baltimore Ravens. When the Cleveland Browns moved to Baltimore, they became the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens was definitely another reserved team name, I believe, as well. And if I'm spreading propaganda, let me know, because I definitely want to make sure that I'm saying this right. But when it comes to the Washington Redskins, that has been an identity that has been around for 80 plus years. So it's not something that you just retire and then you just slap on just some generic name and you ride with that. I mean, it really has to be something that's going to be as iconic as the name was for this franchise, and that iconic chief head that in my mind became extremely iconic, when they certainly started winning Super Bowls. There were so many fans who were highly, highly upset because that we dropped the Washington Redskins, or the Redskins moniker, and I was upset as well. I understood. I always took the path that You leave it up to the Native Americans. You leave it up to the group that is actually being affected by this. And I always felt that nobody else should have a say in this. Me, as a white person that has no Native American blood in me at all that I know of, I've studied my ancestral history, and there's no Native American blood in my family. So with having said that, I have no say in the matter other than the fact that I never heard anything derogatory. I never even thought that it had any type of negative connotations to it. Really, you wind up going back to what the Native Americans think and let them, vote on it and let them totally decide what it is that, is it something that they honor? Is it something of dishonor? And, in the end, you want to make sure that everybody's well respected. Personally, I still call them Redskins every now and then because, hey, they've been around for 80 plus years. And for half of those years, I have been a fan of this team. That's a lot of time to kind of, move away from being, from calling them the Washington Redskins to calling them something else. On the flip side of that, I also don't want to be on the wrong side of history, and I want to be able to make sure that, I'm being respectful. And I realize there may be some people who are so hypersensitive, they'll see, the banner in the back, and they'll see my coffee cup and my jersey, and they're going to say, well, you're still being disrespectful because you're showing all of that Native American imagery and the icon. And again, I will say, hey, this was all created by a Native American artist. I will believe that until I go to my grave, and so I don't think that's disrespectful. You can say whatever you say about the name. I'm fine with that. But as far as the imagery, yeah, okay, we can get rid of the Native American imagery, because of all of this. It's the reason why I became more interested in learning more about the Native Americans. And I always felt that if it wasn't for that, I probably would have never really been taught anything about Native Americans and the different tribes and things like that. Having said all that, it is what it is, and right now we're called the Washington Football Team. And honestly, after that first game, in that first game, after seeing the helmets, seeing that the colors and the jerseys and all of that still looked pretty much like the Washington Redskins, obviously except for the helmets having, no stripes and having the numbers, I was just fine. I actually was like, you know what? I'm fine with this look. I really like it. And honestly, I could probably deal with just having that plain look from here on out, but I know that there are a lot of other fans who really want this team to have some sort of name, some sort of identity that they can hold on to, because obviously I would kind of contradict myself and say that, a name doesn't mean anything when that was part of the reason why that I became a Redskins fan in the first place. So really, that in a nutshell is what this video is about. It's about saying that, hey, coming up in 2022, we are going to be called the Washington fill in the blank, whatever that may be. Is it going to be Red Wolves? Is it going to be Warriors? Is it going to be Red Hawks? Honestly, I'm beginning to think it's not going to be any of that. I think it's going to be something so totally different that nobody else has even thought of, or it could be a combination of all of the ideas that have came in from the fans, and they may have created some sort of name based on all of that. There's some pretty smart people that are involved with making this right, and believe me, what we want in the end is we want an iconic name and an iconic team and a Super Bowl team that when you look at them, you're going to identify with them that, that is the NFL team, that professional team in DC that wins all of those Super Bowls. That is ultimately what all of us fans want. Having said all that, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, leave me a comment in the comment section. Let me know what you thought of the video, and let me know what you would like to see in future videos. As well, I want you to have a great day, and I want you to know something else. Hail to the Washington football team.